Everyone has wondered about how random things work, come into existence and all that. You're not the first one who has done it. And today, we're here to tell you precisely what you've been looking for, the complete procedure that takes place in the manufacturing of a car inside the factory. Without wasting any more of your time, let's get started. First up, we have the invention. Before manufacturers get to the building phase of a car, they need to envisage the product they'll be making. And that's definitely not a straightforward thing to do. It requires years of R&D before they can come up with the product, which is usually an upgrade on a previous model or a new line. This is an important step, and it's highly crucial that the research team gets this right because the new product needs to be better than the previous models and different from its sister companies making similar cars. That's obviously not an easy thing to do. You can't just say that it'll be different in this way or that way. It needs to be backed up on the engineering side of things to ensure that the model is actually fit for driving. They also take into consideration the budget, the funding, the pricing of the car, and potential investment opportunities. This allows the companies to understand just how much room to maneuver they've got during the production phase and what kind of materials are available in their budget. These days, technology is so advanced that the render models of cars are made long before they're even in the production phase, and that can help with a lot of things, including competitive assessment and computer-aided engineering analysis. This is also the part where the car is given its new design, and that too is based on aerodynamics and the laws of science to ensure minimal damages in case of a potential accident or something. Fun fact, the invention phase is pretty long, so the engineers have to predict the kind of cars people would want 5 years or more into the future. Next, we have the manufacturing. The manufacturing process of cars has come a long way since the days of Henry Ford. However, they still roughly follow the same methods of assembly lines and supply chain management, but of course, they've been reformed over the decades. It's important to note that not all car manufacturers use the same process, but it is more or less the same. The first part is getting sheets of metal, and most of these are made from recycled materials. This raw material helps in the transformation of a car from an idea and concept to reality. And in recent years, more and more manufacturers have switched to recycled materials because climate change is a huge talking point. So the most cost-effective and sustainable method is relying on raw materials, especially the ones that are lightweight to keep up with the demand for greener products. On average, around 4,000 different supplies provide the required parts for the car to be assembled in a manufacturing plant, and on average, around 30,000 parts are fixed into every car. Now for stamping/press shop. This is where the production process officially begins. This is where it supplies the necessary steel parts with stamping dies that are used to form specific parts on the car. The next step is done by the robots in the assembly lines, as they create and stamp the sheets and the metal parts for the bodywork. In fact, this is where the door, the side frames, and the roof of your car is manufactured and added to the main frame. The next stop is the body shop on the assembly line, which is another important step. All the individually pressed steel parts are put in place and on the desired single body structure. Then these parts join the sheet metal, and the aluminum parts are added to create the final form. Simultaneous manufacturing. Of course, many things are happening simultaneously, and they don't wait for the first step to be completed because most things don't require going step by step. So while all that's happening in the body shop, on the other hand, we have the chassis. This is a highly detailed step, as the chassis is perhaps the most important part of the car, and it's crucial for the identification of the car even after manufacturing. But even before we get to the post-manufacturing, a small radio frequency transponder is attached to the chassis of every car. It carries the VIN, that is the vehicle identification number, and sticks to the floor pan and the chassis so that production control specialists can keep an eye on the progress of each model and ensure things are in order. The chassis itself is placed on the assembly line. Many parts are attached to it one by one, and these include the likes of the rear axle, the drive shaft, gearbox, braking systems, and even the rear suspensions are added at this very point. The braces and panels are welded to the floor pan and are bolted, and that's probably why they don't come off so easily, even in an accident. Next, we have robotic arms. At the same time, the robotic arms in the factory are installing the engine and transmission inside the engine compartment frame. The car travels along a moving assembly line in the factory, where people and robots work in tandem to add things that need to be added. However, certain robotic work cells work alone as they weld, screw, solder, and glue parts to the car. It seems that humans aren't trusted with these jobs anymore, and it's probably a good thing, because we tend to make errors that the robots definitely can't make. Imagine having a bolt loose in your gearbox, and if it comes off while you're driving in a fast lane, yeah, nobody would want that. In fact, most cars, not so long ago, were made completely by humans, but the error margin was also much bigger than it is now. But it's also good in a way, because cars cost cheaper because of higher automation. Not to mention, they're wildly accurate. The robots used in the manufacturing plants for cars can lift around 200 pounds of material, which includes roof panels, etc., and still manage to place them perfectly with incredible tolerance variations within 0.001 of an inch. And now for the body parts. While the braces and panels are getting attached. At the same time, the roof is also being placed on the car, not to mention the front and rear door pillars, which are assembled by robots again. What would we do without our mechanical friends? Additional exterior parts like the doors, fenders, and bumper reinforcements are also installed onto the car at this point. Did you know that the average car is made out of 300 pounds of plastic? That means that around 8% of the total weight of the car comes from the plastic used in its body. If you think that's a lot, you'd be pleased to know that the plastic weighs around 50% lighter than the manufacturing materials it replaces, so it's not that bad a thing. Most of it is usually recycled too, so that's another positive. The next step is the paint shop, which adds a layer of coating to protect against immediate and long-term corrosion. It's done with such accuracy that they require a completely dust-free environment to ensure the best results. After the coat of paint is applied, the next step is the undergoing of paint inspection system, which rules out any irregularities. Then, we move on to the beginning of the end. It involves multiple different aspects, like the performance of each engine cylinder, and this is the place where they also attach all the different parts to the painted body shell. This includes the engine, the chassis, and the tires too. Finally, they move on to the conclusive part of the assembly, and that's when they mount certain mechanical elements from the driving positions and even the mirrors to the interior trim of the vehicle. Tiring, right? Well, an average car takes around 4 to 5 years in production, so they've got enough time to rest and not rush things. But the work's not done after assembly only. It involves a list of final tests that ensure whether the car is up to the quality standard required or not. It gets tested multiple times for quality assurance and safety before getting approved and being sent to the showrooms. This is the step where they check the car for any imperfections or inconsistencies in the exterior or the interior. It also goes through a number of tests similar to the ones at a DMV, like the starting and stopping of the engine several times, the alignment of the steering, the headlights, brakes, everything. After this, they proceed to test the car in heavy water pressure to find any potential leaks in the car, before finally checking the programming and the electrical units for safety and accessibility. Last but not least, the car also goes through the crash testing phase, which is executed to observe how the car would handle a potential impact. If everything goes well, the car is sent to the showroom, where one of you gets your hands on it. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think the car manufacturing process can be made better in any way? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.